Hello everyone! Because of the surprisingly good reception of the last Polyship video, I bring you some more of the SemiShiraKawaGata stories. Special thanks to all my lovely patrons, you are keeping this channel going. Coming face to face with his father was definitely not on Taichi's wishlist. Not after 3 years of finally cutting ties with his family and moving in with his boyfriends, starting one of the happiest periods of his life. For 3 years, he could live without having to watch his mouth all the time, without having to be on a constant lookout for louder sounds coming from behind the closed door of his room. 3 years without the constant fear of doing something wrong. He thought, no, hoped. His father lost interest in him the moment he told him he was in a relationship with 3 other people. It took Shirabu a few days before he put him somewhat together back then, but it was worth it. Every bruise was worth it if it meant he would never have to step into that house again. Alas, his hopes seemed to fall on deaf ears, as the man he never wanted to see again walked into the bar and headed straight towards him. A thought on just turning on his heel and bolting out by the back entrance briefly entered his mind, but he knew he wouldn't help anything that way. He couldn't keep running away. He tried to keep his expression steady, something he learned to do too well during his childhood, as his father measured the whole place before giving him a disgusted look. So, this is where you work now? Taichi clenched his jaw, hoping his father couldn't see just how much his hands were shaking. What do you want? We are closing already. And I highly doubt you care about my job. Or me, for the matter. The man scoffed, his eyes reminding Taichi of ice. I heard you apparently work in some hole. I wanted to see for myself. Fortunately, I see you really do only disgrace to our family. Taichi flinched. Despite hating everything his family represented, the words stung more than he would like to admit. He forcibly reminded himself that his family and home was now with someone else, but the damage was already done. He desperately wished at least one of his boyfriends was there that night, if only for emotional support. Everything was easier when they were with him, always so supportive and protective to a fault. But he would be damned if he put Hayato or Semi in the line of fire of his father's wrath. The only one who could counter the man without trouble would be Shirabu, but even that would be too much to ask from him. You made it pretty clear I'm not part of the family anymore. If you are here just to remind me I could do better, then you can just turn around and leave. I'm not interested. Despite his words coming out much firmer than he expected, he had to fight the urge to step back and cower when he spotted the familiar furious glint in his father's eyes. He clenched his hand around the nearest bottle. Hard enough his knuckles turned white, his flea instinct kicking in when the other man leaned over the counter. Aren't you forgetting who you are speaking with? No, I know very well who I'm speaking with. With someone I don't want to, so if that's all, you can leave. Listen here, you ungrateful brat. I put time and money into raising you. You are my investment, whether you like it or not. Yeah, that's all I've ever was to you, isn't it? You never cared unless it could ruin your precious reputation. So why don't you continue this and finally leave me alone? Sharp pain exploded in the whole right side of his head. His vision darkened for a beat, his ears ringing and stomach turning. He didn't even get the chance to regain his footing when another hit landed on his jaw, sending another wave of pain through his face. He wavered and gripped the edge of the bar, his head spinning. Muffled voices sounded around him, shouting and saying something he didn't understand. Above all that, he recognized his father's bellowing, but the words didn't make any sense. It was just like before, just like whenever he did or said something his father didn't like. Nothing changed. Nothing ever changed. He flinched when someone's hands touched his shoulders. He stumbled in a desperate attempt to get away, and would probably fall if the hands didn't keep him upright. Hey, it's fine, don't fret. Panicked, Daichi looked around, but there were no traces of his father. He turned to his co-worker, opening his mouth to speak, and hissed when a stinging pain jolted through his lip. He instinctively raised his hand to his mouth, unsurprisingly finding blood on his fingertips. He wouldn't even be surprised if he saw an imprint of his father's ring on his lip after the bruise would appear. His coworker handed him a clean tissue, very clearly visible on her face when the blood immediately soaked through it. "You okay?" Taichi nodded, immediately regretting it when the whole room swayed with him. "Yeah." "Where?" Sakai and Ando threw him out. "Who even was that? Do you know him?" Sighing, Taichi pressed the tissue back to his lip, worried the bleeding might not stop anytime soon. "Unfortunately." "Should I ask?" "No." "Okay, fair. But you should go to a doctor. He hit you pretty hard." Cold shiver ran down Taichi's spine. He didn't need to go to a doctor. He was living with one. However, "It's fine. It wasn't that bad." The woman measured him for a long moment before shrugging. "All right. Though, are you sure you'll be fine going home? One of us can go with you. Or we could call someone to come pick you up." No, it's fine. Really. I'm okay. Thank you for helping me." He only went to get his things after his coworkers assured him they could close without him. His head still hurt, but fortunately it didn't mess with his movement or thinking. The bleeding on his lip slowly stopped, but the knot of dread forming in his stomach the closer he got to their apartment was making him nauseous. He hesitated with his hand on the doorknob. "I hope they aren't home yet. Or maybe they will be asleep already." Once again, however, his prayers seemed to fall on deaf ears, as in the very moment he closed the door behind him, he could hear the muffled sound of the TV from the living room. Crap. The sight that appeared in front of him as soon as he entered the living room made his heart ache. Semi was, as always, being used as a pillow by Shirabu, who laid curled on his lap like a big cat, apparently in deep slumber already, while Hayato scrolled on his phone, firmly snuggled to Semi's other side. Taichi would give anything in the world to be able to snuggle to his partners too, to feel the familiar warmth and safety they always emitted surrounding him like the best blanket in the world. But he couldn't get that today, not unless he wanted to ruin their entire evening. Moving as quietly as possible to not alert either of his partners, he headed towards the second bedroom to assess his face without bothering others. However, his plan crumbled just a second later when Hayato, apparently equipped with some kind of radar, raised his head and immediately smiled at him with one of his bright smiles. "Welcome home." Taichi's throat tightened when even Semi craned his neck over the back of the couch, flashing him a smile of his own. "Hey, we were waiting for you." "Oh, did you? I'm sorry." A confused shadow flashed over Semi's face. "Sorry? For what? It's not that late yet. Kenji just had a long day and fell asleep." "Thank goodness." "No, I'm tired too. So you waited for nothing. We all get to go to bed together after what, a week? That's not nothing." Taichi looked away, guilt jabbing in his chest like a sharp dagger. "Still. But you don't have to wait for me. I'll come later. Just go to sleep, please." "Tai, is something wrong?" He winced, recognizing the worried edge in Hayato's voice. He quickly shook his head, barely containing the pained groan when his head spun again. No, I'll go." He didn't make a single step when Hayato's hand closed around his wrist, rendering any escape attempt useless to his immense despair. He didn't fight when Hayato turned him around, but turned his head away to hide the obvious sign of attack. "What's wrong, sweetheart? You're acting weird." "I'm not." "You are. What's going on?" A surge of panic hit Taichi again, leaving him frozen in place when Hayato turned his face back to him, his eyes widening upon seeing his torn lip. He gently ran his fingers over his cheek and the cut, his expression shifting. "Who did this to you?" Taichi's mind raced to find some excuse, anything that could make Hayato drop the question. But he knew there was nothing he could say to do that, especially when Semi carefully freed himself from Shirabu's grasp and walked over, his face mirroring the same silent rage he saw with Hayato when he looked at him. Did someone hit you? No. It's not. Taichi! Stop yelling. Taichi froze when Shirabu sat up on the couch, rubbing the sleep out of his eyes before turning to them. What's going on? Nothing. It's not. It's not nothing! Who hurt you? All sleepiness was immediately gone from Shirabu's voice. Hurt? Yeah. Can you fetch the medkit? That's not necessary, really. Taichi, stop! Taichi clapped his mouth shut immediately, despair and fear swirling in his chest, mixing into a panic-inducing combination. He flinched when Semi laid his hand against his cheek, looking away upon seeing the pain in Semi's eyes. Sorry, but please, let us help you. Taichi wanted to protest, to say that there was nothing wrong and he could deal with it alone, but the look in Semi and Hayato's eyes stopped him. He bit his lip, hissing when his teeth made contact with the cut. Hayato immediately pressed his finger against his lip, letting him know he opened the cut again. Careful. Come sit down. He obediently followed Hayato on the couch, clasping his hands between his knees while hanging his head low to avoid seeing the concern on his partner's faces. Sorry. Sorry will be the one who did this to you. Shirabu's cool fingers felt like a balm on his skin, and only now did Taichi realize how much his injured side was burning up. He winced when Shirabu disinfected the cut, and then again when his fingers moved to the right side of his face. You have a nasty bruise here in the morning. Not that surprising. But he will be fine, right? Right? Shirabu rolled his eyes, but the dark shadow in them was hard to overlook. Hopefully. I don't think there is any internal bleeding, but just in case, we need to stay on lookout. He gave Hayato and Semi a stern glance before narrowing his eyes at Taichi. You'll tell me if anything feels weird, understood? Nausea, headache, lightheadedness, dizziness. Anything out of ordinary, you tell me. Is that clear? Taichi shivered. Yeah. Thank you. No need. That's what I'm here for. His face softened as he took one of Taichi's hands in his, caressing it with his thumb. What happened? Once again, Taichi's mind kicked in with the usual response of trying to find an excuse. He had no doubts that his boyfriends meant well, but this was his issue. He wasn't going to burden them with it when they had enough on their minds already. It wasn't worth it. Some of his thoughts had to mirror on his face, as in the next moment, the couch sank a bit under a new weight, and a pair of surprisingly strong arms wrapped around him from behind. The soft hair tickled on his neck, the warm breath caressing his skin making goosebumps appear on his arms. Tai, love, please don't bottle everything up again. Kneeling down in front of the couch, Semi took Taichi's free hand in his too. We want to help. No matter what happened, we are on your side. And just like that, Taichi's resolve and protective voice crumbled into a pile of dust. He looked away quickly when his vision hazed, his mind practically screaming at him not to let his emotions show. But he couldn't stop it anymore. All the grips on him tightened, never to the point of hurting, but rather offering more comfort, and then there was nothing stopping the tears rolling down his cheeks. Before he knew it, he was surrounded by the already familiar mix of warmth and safety he wished for so much, as Semi and Shirabu joined the huddle. Neither of them said anything except for the whispered reassurances, letting him cry in peace, without fear of getting punished for it. We are here for you. You are safe with us. There's nothing to be afraid of. I'm going to kill him. Eita, no. Eita, yes. I'm going with you. How dare he even lay a hand on you? Taichi let out a shattered breath and folded his head into his palms, hissing when he accidentally touched the already formed dark bruise now spreading over almost the whole half of his face. This is why I didn't want to tell you about it. You'll just get in trouble because of me. Gentle hands cupped his cheeks and made him look up to meet the dark chocolate eyes he loved so much. Tai, we are your partners, remember? We are supposed to protect you. Yeah, no matter if the danger comes from some stranger or your so-called father. But, Taichi, don't worry about us. We can take care of ourselves. But that guy deserves nothing better than getting stabbed with a rusty knife. Or a plastic fork. I heard that's pretty painful. Taichi caught Hayato's wrist before he could get up, having not a single doubt they would be able to go do just that. Please, leave it be. I'm grateful, really, but I want to protect you too. I don't want him to hurt you too. A short silence settled in the room. Then, Hayato sighed softly and brought Taichi's hand to his lips, leaving light kisses on his palm and fingers. At the same time, Semi settled next to him on the couch and wrapped his arms around him, guiding him under his chin. Taichi didn't fight it and instinctively snuggled closer, pleasant shivers running along his spine when Semi started to play with his hair. Alright, he gets off the hook this time. But if he ever dares to even come close to you again, there will be no escape. Agreed. He has no right to treat you like this, let alone hit you. Too overwhelmed to speak, Taichi gave them a weak but grateful smile. The tension that gathered around his chest slowly but surely loosened its grip on him, allowing him to breathe freely again. He glanced up at Shirabu, who handed him another painkiller, but whose expression told him he was thinking the exact same thing as Semi and Hayato. And please remember that you aren't bothering us when something's not right. We will listen if you need to talk. Taichi's vision blurred. I know. It's just a bit difficult to convince myself. But I will do better. Good. Now scoot over, you two Taichi hoggers. I want a hug too.